My name is Miles, and for the past 20 years, I've been obsessed with this concept of making music visible to help myself as a musician that can't hear well make music and play with other musicians. And it's been a up and down adventure, really. Sometimes it's worked well, sometimes it hasn't. I was in a band for 5 years in New York City, and I was always the last one to know what anybody was talking about in rehearsals. The drummer would go like, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'd just be stood there not realizing that the music was about to start. So, things like that could be pretty challenging. But back then I was always wishing, what if there's a way that I could see more what was happening in the sound and the music itself to help me keep up with the time signature, the tempo, the key changes, the chord progression, what the singer is saying or singing, and what notes to play. So 20 years ago, I've been thinking about that, and I founded a nonprofit 10 years ago that explored just that one concept. How can we take the concept of music and make it visual? So we use technology, and I had lots of awesome friends and people volunteering their time to help put together technology, open source code, Arduino-based dot boxes that we could plug in an instrument and then plug in LED lights and see something. And it was pretty basic, just kind of the frequencies, if it was a low or medium or high frequency. And quickly I saw that just adding color to frequencies would give me some sense of, oh, that's like the bass instrument or the kick drum, that the cymbal right there, the high frequency, the hi-hat, the guitar was somewhere in the middle. But it still wasn't enough because even then, what note, what key are we in? I would play the wrong note. I couldn't hear if I was 1 degree off, one semitone off can make a huge difference to someone that can hear well, obviously, like, there's some bum notes in there, dude. So from that, I was thinking, well, what if we could expand this concept of color and music? And then I started experimenting with some frameworks where you have the keyboards, and I would map different colors of the key to different notes. And that's, back then it was kind of an original idea, but now it's pretty common. You see equipment like with that concept built into it, but they still don't take it enough. And everybody has a different idea of what the colors and notes should be mapped to. But me, as a musician that needs this to actually make music or play with other musicians, the difference between a good system and a bad system is like, I struggle. I can't participate in jams or songwriting. And right now I'm working on a jazz project where I have to compose jazz music. And, for somebody that's deaf and hard of hearing like me, music theory is difficult because it's such an abstract concept. And in school, when they teach music, they teach it through a way that they assume that you can hear. And I've worked with deaf kids in schools where they'll be like, what am I doing? The teacher's like struggling to get the music concept across to somebody that just doesn't hear well. So that's why they're always excited about the work that I do, to bring me into those classrooms. And then I started experimenting. And what I kept gravitating to was not just the color, but the timing and the space. So if you can create a relationship where this sound is happening here, and it's coming from this place, and it's always going to do these notes and colors are the same every time, you can start to sort of train your brain to understand, especially if you build in those colors into the instrument. So again, going back to the keyboards that have colors in them, I was frustrated when I couldn't change the colors. I wanted it to match my system that I was developing that started to make more sense to me. But when the makers have their own ideas and they're pretty basic, they might only show the root note and one color and the rest of the notes show another color. That's useless. I need to be able to see the scale. Each note of the scale should have a fixed color. So I've always honed in on the fact that the same note should always have the same colors. But if you just use the rainbow spectrum where you say, well, okay, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, that's going to be your red, orange, yellow, green, blue, etc. That's the kind of a chromatic mapping. And it's functional to help you kind of get orientated on the instrument, like, oh, this is lower, this is higher. But again, it's the same problem as I had in the beginning, where it's just frequency is color. I still didn't have any understanding of music harmony. So how does music get assembled in a way that sounds pleasing, helps the listener through that journey of like, oh, this is first, then this comes, and then this. It's a story. Music is a story. It's always been that way for generations. So I want my colors to tell a story visually, just the same way that music would. So in order to do that, I have to switch the colors around. And I discovered something that my uncle, who passed away, unfortunately, but he was a singer-songwriter, he taught me the circle of fifths. That's where for every fifth, C, not D, E, F, C to G, that's a fifth apart. Then you have a harmonious relationship because your ear, apparently, likes that progression to go from C to G. So what I did was just put the colors in that order. So C is red, then G is orange. If you go that way, I call it like a harmonic color mapping. So I built the whole framework around it. And as soon as you do that, you flip the order of the colors. When you start playing a chord, where you have like the C, the D, and the G, that's your C major chord, suddenly it's not random colors that seem opposite. Like there's no correlation of the colors. You actually have harmonious colors. The colors are in the same neighborhood group. They are complementary colors. They're not opposite and glaringly obviously opposite. So when you do that, if you do a dissonant note, which is usually the closest note, the C to the D, if you play those notes together, one semitone apart, like I said before, oh, that's a bum note, that doesn't sound good. Play them together, it creates a lot of tension. But in the harmonic color mapping framework, they are opposite colors, like red and green. Like glaringly, obviously different colors. You can see they could not be more different. And that's what the ear is telling you, and therefore the eye is also saying the same. So, let's fast forward. About a year ago, I was playing with these concepts, but I wanted to create an app that could take my 20 years of knowledge working with visual music, helping people like myself that don't hear well, be able to not just get familiar with music, but actually enjoy the process of listening and creating music. So this app, I'm going to combine all of the discoveries that I've made over the years into one single simple canvas. It doesn't assume that you know how to play an instrument. It doesn't assume that you know any music theory at all. But it looks interesting. So it's just a series of pixels because I love LED lights. My entire career has been built around controlling and driving LED lights from very small to gigantic art installations that were on stages during musician performances. So I took that and I put it into a simple grid, about 40 by 24 pixels wide and high. And then I just said, well, I always want the lowest instruments to be at the bottom. That makes sense. The bass, the drums, pretty percussion, bass heavy, right? So I put those on the bottom. At the top is always the highest pitch frequencies, like your singing voice, your whistling. The melodies should go at the top. And in the middle is the chords that combine everything and give everything structure. So that's what I did. I don't want any menus. I don't want to look and press a button to go to another place because I'd lose where I am. But not just give the instrument the sound a fixed bass, but also the notes and the chords and the timeline. Everything should be visible at once. So I don't want to not see the music that happened a minute ago and not see the music that happened a minute later. So I made sure that every single thing is visible always. So you could almost see like the entire song in a single glance. And that really helped me because as somebody just relying on seeing the sound, I don't want to lose where I am. I want to always be able to see at a glance, oh, that's what the bass instrument is doing. Oh, there's a chord coming up. Oh, the rhythm is like this, and it's spaced like this. The tempo must be like this. So I combined all of that into a canvas that is just beautifully simple. And then I applied my harmonic color mappings. Okay, so the chords are going to use these scales, and these scales are going to have these fixed colors because the notes have a fixed color. And then suddenly it started looking really like just beautiful, like pixel art music. And then I knew I was kind of onto something interesting then. I gave an early prototype to my kids, and they had a fantastic time. Like, this is really cool, this is fun. And then I was at an event where my kids were dancing, doing a dance recital, and there's another kid sat next to me, and I was just tinkering with my own app. I like to get it out of my pocket and just play with it and try to come up with ideas how to make it better. And this like 5-year-old kid was like looking over my shoulder, was like, what is that? That's cool. And I said, sure. I handed him my phone, as you do, and they started playing with it. And within seconds, they have a little jam going. It's like intuitive. It's instinctual. Obviously, they can hear, but the visual component really drove it home to them. That's like, oh, I see and hear everything at the same time. Everything I hear, I can see. And everything I see, I can hear. That makes sense, right? So without really any explanation, they just got it. And I saw the same effect with my deaf students in school, that they just get it right away. And the teachers there who have traditionally struggled to teach these kids are like, their mouths are open, like, how did you do this? It's like, we've been trying to do this for so long, and the kids get so bored of music class, but here they're having a great time. They're really responsive. They're really engaged. So that told me I was doing something right. So I continued to work on the app. It was just for myself and my friends and my coworkers. And then I just decided, well, what the heck, let's just release it to everybody. So I figured out how to put it on an iPhone, on the App Store. So it made it available for people to just test and download it on their own devices. And it's been good. It's been good. I've had like 30 people in the testing group. And then now that I've made it available to publicly buy and download this thing, it's about almost 100 people using this app. So it's still early days, but the feedback I've been getting is great. A lot of people aren't deaf. They aren't hard of hearing. They're not even like music teachers per se, but they are musicians or people interested in music, and maybe they're struggling with the traditional tools that are just so complicated and convoluted. Like, there's so many buttons, there's so many dials, and every time you switch to a new app, you have to kind of relearn it all over again. So I made sure that the way that you interface with the app is extremely simple. It's just 1 or 2 fingers, gestures. You can drag across the drum track, and it'll automatically lay down those drum hits on the grid. If you drag the other way, though, it'll actually put it off the grid. So you can get some very interesting asymmetrical rhythms going with just 2 very basic gestures. And even kids can easily do that and learn how to do that really fast. Same concept with the chords. Well, what if you drag down, then you actually lay down the notes in the chords. And then what if you go across, then you can stretch those notes out in time and get a long sustained chord. So I kept applying these concepts to make it, I just wanted to make it super simple. You should be able to like lay down a jam in 30, 40 seconds and get a loop and get some inspiration going. You don't have to understand the music theory, but it gets deep if you are curious about it. If you want to be like, I want to create a chord progression, well, all you have to do on that chord track, go from one gesture and then draw it again. And then the second time it's going to be the next chord in the progression, because I do a lot of the intelligence behind the scenes to just figure that out for you. And then that just makes the art of making music more fun, like you're playing again. And for me, that's what it's all about. It's just making this thing as accessible and inclusive to as many people as possible. So if you're interested in checking it out, it's called Pixelboop. It's on the Apple App Store. You can go to pixelboop.com or follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and YouTube and Instagram are probably my favorite way I post the most. I've been trying to post on TikTok, but TikTok just it hates me. I'm not that typical Gen Z that can figure out what the very trendy latest dance move. I'm sorry, I just can't do that. The TikTok doesn't like me at all, and I put up my jams that I make with Pixelboop on TikTok, and they even think my music is so good they think I'm copying someone else. When it's literally, I'm like recording myself on my own app, throwing my own songs, and then it goes, well, hey, this is somebody else's music, and they think I'm doing a copyright strike. It's crazy. So that's, again, maybe a compliment in disguise here that TikTok thinks my music is so awesome that I must have stolen it from someone. When actually, no, if you actually look, I'm the one that made the music with my own app. Yeah. Anyway, TikTok is, got sidetracked here. Maybe you can complain to them sometime. Anyways, so Pixelboop, I hope you check it out. I would love to hear your feedback. I'm always looking to add more ideas. I'm not, a music theory expert, but it's never been easier to, just jump in and try ideas and see what sticks and what doesn't stick. So that's why I need you to give me your feedback and tell me what you like and what's not working for you. And I promise you, I will take that feedback and work hard to make this better. I want this to really transform the art of making music, and also hopefully in education, just make it more fun for the kids, especially if they don't hear well. I want that to be a pathway for them if they ever wanted to get involved with making music and just being in that world, because it's all about community at the end of the day. It's a social construct. Making music is sharing a story, getting together with other people to listen to their story, and there's nothing more magic than that. So thanks for your time. Check it out, pixelboop.com. Take care.